Good morning, everyone. And glad to have you here again today. And we'll be back in the 73rd Psalm this morning, dealing with the age old question, problem of why the good people, righteous people seem to suffer while the wicked prosper. Um, and yesterday we looked at just one verse. We looked at the very first verse in this psalm, and there we basically um, learned a simple truth that is a good truth for not just this situation, but for any time, any difficulty, any situation we find ourselves in, and that is to simply trust God, to remember that He is good, that He cares for His people. We may not always understand, just as um, a child being young child being given their shots or having blood drawn or some kind of test, may not understand what they may think for a moment that their parents don't love them to put them through that, but we know that those things are, or we at least believe that those things are for the child's good. And so Asaph began by saying, truly, God is good to Israel. And so I would encourage you to build the rest of your theology on that simple statement: God is good. And everything else kind of, I think, will fall into place around that. Now, this morning we're going to be picking up in verse 2, and I have the opposite problem from yesterday. Yesterday, I felt like I really just need to include one verse. Today, I need to cover about 15 probably to really the whole paragraph in the text. Well, no way I'll get that done and done appropriately. So I'm just going to jump in at verse 2, and we will see how this plays out. The second thing that Asaph teaches us when we are wrestling with this problem, and again, it's a problem that all of us, I think everybody, probably every person in history at some point in their life has wrestled with this problem. That it seems like that the good, the righteous suffer while the wicked prosper. And let's face it, sometimes it's not even seems like. I mean, sometimes it's just the reality. We see, wicked people who seem to, again, I say seem, not seem, but are having great fortune. And we struggle with that. And like Asaph here is going to tell us in this second verse. But as for me, my feet were almost gone; my steps had well nigh slipped. For Asaph, it had knocked him to the ground. It had completely undermined his faith. He was, it was such a dilemma to him. He didn't have an answer. That he almost lost his faith. He was beginning to think that living a wicked life was better, that it would pay off. He says in verse 3, I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. And so he is confessing here, he's admitting his doubt. He again, and this is based on, again, everything is based on his statement in that first verse. I know God is good, which is again adding to his confusion. I know God is good, but I don't understand why the righteous suffer. And I think that's kind of the dilemma again that all of us face at some point in our life. We know God is good, but we look around and we see, we see things happen to good people, and we see evil people being blessed. And if we're not careful, we can be like Asaph here and get to the point where we consider changing teams. That we come to the place where it appears that wickedness is the way to go. That we would be better off living that way. And again, this is really causing some problem for his faith. And what he does is, because God is good. Again, that's what I said a while ago. This is the that statement that God is good is the thing that Asaph is going to build everything else on. It guides our when we keep that principle in mind. We keep coming back to that. I know God is good. Then everything we can kind of build again a theology around that. And because he knew God was good, he knows that he can go to God and confess to him and tell him that he is struggling. He knows that God again is good, and that because of that, he's not going to hit him with a lightning bolt for confessing. When he says, "I was envious of the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." He says, I'm just going to tell you, God, I'm envious." And that's the kind of confession most of us probably would hesitate a little bit of making to God. That we're envious of the foolish. But he comes back and he's, again, he knows God is good, so he can go to him and tell him what his troubles are. And so this morning, my encouragement to you again, that's why I say keep that guiding principle. It's like the lighthouse up on the shore that guides us through all the other dilemmas of life. When we see things, and it may not necessarily be something like this, where the wicked are prospering. There's other things that come along in our life that really kind of undermine our faith. Well, what we see here from Asaph is that we keep our eyes on this thought. We keep our eyes up ahead that God is good. And since God is good, I know there's a reasonable answer to it, so I will go and I will talk to God about this situation. I know that I can trust Him, that I can go to Him with my burdens, with my concerns, and because He's good, I can expect Him to help me through this time of discouragement. And again, this is a principle I think that we can take and stretch out into other areas of our life. We again, that when we remember God is good, then we know that that He is still on the throne, and that we can go to Him and make and let Him know our troubles. I assure you, if you go out into the world and you ask philosophers and you consult with modern minds and great think tanks, they will give you all kinds of crazy, if any, answer to this dilemma. But Asaph knows, I can go to my God and confess to Him and tell Him what is my burden. And so this morning, that lesson would be what I would hope. One of the lessons you could take away, again, two lessons. One of them is simply to anchor your thought, your theology, to the fact that God is good. We learned that when we were a little child. God is great. God is good. Um, and anchor our theology and our thoughts um, to that to that hitching point, that we know God is good, and from there, then we can begin to kind of sort some other things out. God is good, so there's a reason for what's going on. God is good, so I can go talk to God about what's going on. God is good, and so I can trust Him to bring me through this this situation. God is good, so I know He will not leave me nor forsake me, and so that's the beauty of that first statement and how it begins to flow in to the rest of our relationship with the Lord. And so, as we wrap up this morning, let me just again say to you that whatever you're going through, whatever battles you're facing, whatever struggles, questions you have, two things. Remember, God is good. And second of all, remember that because He is good, He welcomes His children to come to Him. And I know we've talked about this before. Some of you have been told, don't question God. Um, I don't think that's questioning God when we tell God we don't understand. I don't think that would. I don't think that qualifies as questioning God. I think questioning God is questioning His authority, His right, His power to do what He chooses to do. Asking Him for clarification, asking Him for understanding, is actually following the model of Jesus Christ Himself, who on the cross said, my God, why have you forsaken me? And so I don't think there's anything wrong with asking God for understanding because He's good. He'll guide us through our difficult times. So, whatever you're facing today, whatever battle you're going through, you remember those two truths. God is good, and because He's good, I can talk to Him, I can share with Him my struggles and my burdens. All right, have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.